Hello, everyone, and welcome to the All in Football Fantasy Premier League Show podcast, episode 23. I am your host, Alex Rex, the FPL guru, and joining me today are the usual suspects of Scott Williams, who's going for back-to-back Managers of the Month. Congratulations on your week, Scott. That Bruno Fernandes goal did you a world of good at the end. Didn't do a world of good to my rank, but did a world of good to you at the end with the last kick of the game, Scott.
Yeah. And got to play to the whistle, baby, aren't you?
We got to play for the last kick of the game. And also joining me today is the man who is top out of the three of us still in Fantasy Premier League football, but also can't wait for next season to start. Direct quote from Tom. Thomas Hughes. How are we doing today, Tom?
Oh, yeah, very good. Well, not very good because, putting the lead shirt on reminded me of how we played at the weekend. But in terms of fantasy, feeling good, yeah.
Good stuff. Right. We've got a lot to talk about this week, so I'll crack on really quickly with the reviews of game week 24 and 25. Looking at the Kings of the Game Week. So for YouTube watchers, I have it up on the screen for us right here and right now. In game week 24, we had Coutinho and Jota, both with 16 points. And we had Matip and Van Dijk delivering for Liverpool at the back, Ramsdale and Gabriel for Arsenal at the back, Fraser and blast from the past there. Ramsey once again delivering with 14 points, proven to be potentially even a starter, never mind just a fifth midfielder for everybody. Dan James stepping up with his 2 goals. Jay Rodriguez, Twitter's main pick for this week's fantasy team with the double game weeks for Burnley. And then Timu Pukki up front with 9 points. And we won't linger too much on who was manager of the week in the All-In Podcast League, because that was me. Onto the review of game week 20. No one wants to talk about me, talk about how I had a really good week, do they really? Let's be honest. Game week 25, Raheem Sterling showed up for his 1 hat-trick of the season. Might get 2, but he normally is part of a team that batters someone at some point for Man City. So 18 points for him, even though he missed the penalty but put in the rebound. Gordon and Dendoncker, some good budget midfielders as well. Bowen delivering again. Sancho, Ronaldo, and then of course we've had Webster, Coleman, Keane, Lamptey, and David Raya at the back. Double defence for Everton because they both scored, didn't they? Did Gordon score? Who scored the other goal for Everton? Tom?
Gordon, yeah, Gordon scored because it was originally, wasn't it? And then Gordon got given it.
Came off his heels, didn't it? So the 3 goal scorers. But yeah,
anyone that brought
as well.
Yeah, anyone that brought Michael Keane in. Well done, you run good. And Webster as well. Well done, you run good.
Yeah.
You're specifically referencing Jeff and Cully there.
Correct.
That brings me perfectly to who was manager of the week for this game week. So congratulations to that one, Havertz. Jeff Belcher, manager of the week for this week with 75 points. He did take a -4. So David De Gea in goal for him. Webster, Brandon Williams with no points. Trent, Bernardo Silva, did he get a hat-trick yesterday or only 2? 2. So 1 got ruled out. Did he get a hat-trick? He got 2 goals and at least 1 assist, if not 2, yesterday. Jota, Bowen for everybody, and Salah. But one of the big differences was he captained Ronaldo, who scored a goal for us and got 2 bonus points yesterday against Brighton. And he has got
captain Ronaldo,
the Leeds fan. Jeff Belcher.
Oh, we're just checking. He's got De Gea in goal as well.
Yeah.
Okay, just checking. Yeah, carry on.
Where's his Leeds players? Sorry, I can't.
I was just looking. I was looking for them, Scott. I couldn't see them. I'm not sure whether that counts as manager of the week if you don't have one of your own players in it. You got 2 scum players in there anyway.
Well, let's not give him too much stick. He has had Ronaldo for a while, and he's only just delivered for him now. But yeah, Jeff, nice one, 75 points. That's taking you up to up in your overall rank. So it'd be a nice green arrow for you. To 146k. So nice big green arrow this week. What colour were your arrows this week, boys?
The usual.
Classic green for Scott. Mine was green until Bruno scored.
He's had a couple of good months, and all of a sudden he's got his cockiness back.
8 in a row, baby. 8 greens in a row. This is what happens when you're 15th millionth in the world 8 weeks ago. The only way up. You remember this last year, Tom? You just climb, mate. That's all you do.
I got a huge red arrow this week, Alex. I've been in and around the top 25k for I'd say 10 weeks. 40k now.
Okay. Yeah.
There's a big drop on the Ronaldo and Bruno goals.
I was into the top 40k for the first time until that game last night. Yeah, and I'm 65, I think it is. It was, they were pretty brutal goals, were those ones. But still, that's what you get, isn't it? For gambling on the double game week players, they paid off. So well done to everyone who took that gamble. I was literally one kick away from making the right decision. I nearly went Bruno before I went Salah, and I'd have captained Bruno, and I'd have had to take an extra -4 this week. I was one kick away from making the right decision. And then it definitely wasn't. And I had a captain Bruno as well. But it is what it is. Close moments in the season, big swings, big points, because it wasn't just a five points for the goal, was it? It was 3 bonus points off the back of that. So nice one there. And let's just move on swiftly, because there's so much to talk about for game week 26. Because what you're going to do in 26, your transfers in game week 26, hugely affect what you're going to do in game week 27. So you will have had to decide with what moves you make this week if you're going to free hit in game week 27 or not. Now, for people who only have one free hit left, this is a really big decision, because at the moment in game week 30, there are still only 3 fixtures confirmed. So it's important, because if you use your free hit in game week 27, the FA Cup results go a certain way. All of your transfers for the next 3 weeks could potentially be geared towards having to put 11 players out in game week 30, or you might have to use your wildcard. So big decisions for you to be made. And we're sitting here with all of our chips, so we've kind of got a bit of a luxury. I'm already committed to a free hit in game week 27. But I still might not have to free hit in game week 30. But all of these things are there for us to discuss. So the main question I got asked, who are the best players for game week 26? So let's start with the Liverpool debate, shall we?
I mean, there's not much for debate, is there? But yeah, carry on.
But anybody here not going to triple captain Salah?
Nope.
I think there's an argument to say that you shouldn't. He's coming up against 2 really strong defences. I think they've only conceded 8 goals across their last fixture between them. So I certainly would be thinking twice about it. I wouldn't recommend it, especially to people chasing the lead like Jeff. Don't take any risks. Go for someone like, I don't know, Webster. Just bat the boy. You got your 16 points this week. So
love that triple captain Webster in a single game week. Brilliant. It's just to reiterate basically what you've said there, Tom. The 2 worst defences in the league he's coming up against. He's at home against both of them, is Mo Salah. In the last 4 games against Norwich, so since they got promoted, they have scored 4 goals, 1 goal, 3 goals, and 3 goals. So just for everyone, quick math, that's 11. And they've only conceded 1 against Norwich in the last period of time in games. And against Leeds in the last 3 fixtures, again, since they've been promoted, they've scored 4, 1, and 3. So they've scored 8 goals. So in between them, quick maths, 19 goals scored against these 2 teams who have the worst defences. Mo Salah's the top in the league for goals. He's pretty much top in the league for assists. He's a top point scorer in FPL this season. One of the questions this week was asked to me of, try and convince me not to triple captain Mo Salah. The only other person that I could think of to triple captain other than Mo Salah was Trent. Now, hear me out on the Trent side of things. So he's relatively similarly owned. He's got 156 points this year compared to Salah's 181. So that's 7 points per match compared to Salah's 8.5. They've both had 7 double-digit returns this season. Trent's got a 15-pointer and like 3 12s. Salah's got a 24, 17, and a 15. So his ceiling's higher. But since game week 10, Trent's got 105 points compared to Salah's 73, which is 7 points per start compared to Salah's 6 points per start. Trent's got 9 attacking returns compared to Salah's 10. But obviously, Trent gets clean sheets in there. And since game week 15, Trent's on 6 points per game, whereas Salah's on 4.5 points per game. They've done 4 attacking returns each, and Trent's got 66 points compared to Salah's 34. I know Salah's obviously not played as many games. He was at AFCON. So there is an argument here. If you are chasing, if you are a little bit down in the league and you want to try and make up some ground, and you have got. I mean, let's just get this right. If you don't triple captain Salah and he bangs, you're doomed. But if Trent does deliver and Salah does go on and maybe get subbed off after 60 minutes because they have got the Champions League and then they have got the Carabao Cup final. If he gets his minutes managed, I don't know. There's an argument to say Trent. Lads?
The only people that should be doing it is if you are at a situation where it's make or break. If you're in a money league where maybe the top three get paid, you think, you know what, there's an outside chance of me going, but I need like a make or break week. This is it. So maybe me 2 months ago, if I was in that situation I was in 2 months ago, obviously we've been very lucky in the last 2 months. Things have gone my way, I've caught up. But if this was me 2 months ago, I've gone, do you know what, I'm going to need a bit of a miracle to get back into that top three contention. That's when I'd be going, do you know what, I'm just going to roll the dice. Like you said, Salah bags, I'm dead. My fantasy football season's over. But if he don't, I'm right back in the mix of getting cash in. So if you're at that make or break part of, and I know there's probably a few people listening to this that are at that part, I would be rolling the dice for this one. This is your big chance to roll the dice and get some interesting returns.
Yeah, and actually, Salah, I know it's Salah, and he's at home to Norwich and Leeds. Both got terrible defences, no denying that. But Norwich definitely are going to go there to try and minimise the damage. They're not going to go there and play expansive. Leeds will play how Leeds play and probably get battered because we're going to, go out against Man United the weekend, use all our energy up, and then 2 days later play Liverpool. So not a great situation for Leeds. But I think Norwich, I can see that being 1-0. Liverpool weren't good against Burnley. I don't know if you saw some of that game. I don't think Salah. I think Salah had one shot or something like that. He was barely in the game. He was obviously trying all stuff, but didn't really get involved in terms of actual output, goals, big chances, anything like that. Liverpool weren't great in that game, and if they get a resilient Norwich, maybe that could be kept down. And Salah maybe trying a little bit too hard after AFCON. I know he came straight back in, but was a bit too eager to maybe get back into it. These are all arguments you could say for not triple captaining Salah. On the flip side, will they keep 2 clean sheets? That's like 95% sure that they will at home against these two teams. So Trent is almost guaranteed to get 2 clean sheets, which means he's almost guaranteed to get you 12 points. And then if he gets any kind of bonus or assists in there, he's got good potential. But Salah could easily get 2 hat-tricks. He could score 12 goals. I don't even know.
I suppose the thing is with Trent, isn't it? If for example, like they get a 1-0 win and Trent scores the goal, then that goal is worth 9 points. Tripled is 27. It's a big goal. Plus, obviously, then he's got the other 80. It could be a big swing if he does nail it.
Look at Webster, don't you? Look at Webster this week. If he'd have, and that's just from one fixture, basically, he got those 15 points. I think he got 1 in the second one. So if you get him 15 points in one game as a defender that is potential for 30, maybe you get a huge score if he gets assists or a goal in both those games. So
it absolutely, like Scott says, it depends on your situation. So, for example, like if you are Dan Clark, Jamie Varley, Marcus, Martin, whatever, it depends what your aims are in the season. Like if you want to just get a good overall rank and try to chip away and climb up and this, that, and the other, and or you just enjoy it, then fine. But if you really want to make up some ground and you really want to try and push for it, if I'm one of these lads, I would triple captain Trent. Whereas if you did it, Tom, you'd be ridiculous. You'd lose your mind because at the moment, like imagine your season, what the upside is. It's not because everyone's going to have Trent anyway. So yeah.
And I think the only other thing I was worried about with Salah is potentially rotation, like you mentioned with Champions League. But Liverpool are still within reasonable distance of Man City in the league, and I don't think that Klopp is going to risk that rotation. You might see Bobby. I know they rested Jota because he had a slight knock and they were just a little bit worried about him, so they played Bobby.
Yeah.
Don't think that you see Salah or Mane get dropped in those games. Definitely not Salah, because it's too important. If they've got even the sniff of getting back on City, they're not going to throw that away at this point in the season. So
Salah don't get rested. It's like Alex said the other week. They won 5 out of 5 in the Champions League and gone through top. He still played Salah. he doesn't get rested. I saw a post today on Instagram. It's like for all these people that worried about Salah getting rested, he won't. He'll get rested in the FA Cup against Norwich. I think they're playing.
Exactly.
But other than that, he ain't going to get rested. Not in the big games. No chance.
I think it's quite clear who the best front three is because Klopp came out after the game and said Jota had a dead leg and he would have played if he didn't have a dead leg. So there's a lot of people worried about Jota's minutes, and I'm not.
He was brilliant. He scored twice, didn't he, the week before? I agree. That front three is nailed now, isn't it? I think
someone on Talk Sport today, I can't remember who it was saying that Jota's a candidate for best player in the world today. So I'll just leave you with that one.
TalkSport love it, don't they? They try and say anything as controversial as they possibly can do to get people to listen to it. So I think it leads on nicely. I want to go ask the question of your best three players from each team that's doubling this week. So if we went to Liverpool, Trent and Salah, pretty obvious. Robbo versus Jota. Because I think that's the other debate, isn't it? Who would you, if you were free hitting right now, who would you put in?
We had this recently. For me, it would be Jota.
Scott?
Again, positional wise, if you want to take the gamble, you gamble Robbo. But yeah, I think when we had this before, Jota had maybe a couple of games where he maybe blanked, but looking how he played the other week, I'm more on the Jota side now. Yeah.
Do you know what it is? It depends who else I could get in the midfield, I think.
Yeah, that's it. But if you're just asking us, if you take that out of the consideration and just say top three players from each team, I think
and the thing, I'd probably go Robbo right now if I had the choice. It's incredibly close, isn't it? But I think if I have to nail my colours to the mast, Robbo. I'll do that. I'll go the difference. Arsenal, lads. Let's talk. Let's discuss Arsenal. They've a little bit of news on them to start with. They have the potential for. Now, I saw this on a tweet from Lego Mane, who's a guy who works out a lot of the fixtures for Fantasy Premier League. He is relatively convinced that Arsenal will blank in 27 because they do, but potentially have a double game week in 28 and in 29. And then they play in game week 30 as well for all of those people who aren't free hitting in game week 30. Now, I don't think personally they'll have a double game week in 29 because of the way the fixtures fall for TV. So we've seen with the way that fixtures have been rescheduled this week, the double game week fixtures that aren't televised are put on the Wednesday and the one that is televised is put on the Thursday because they don't want to clash with Champions League. So the only way that, because Arsenal versus Liverpool, which is the game that will probably go into game week 29, should be on Sky and would clash with the Champions League if it was midweek because Arsenal play the early kickoff in game week 30 against Aston Villa. So I just don't think it's quite going to fit in that, but still, they need to fit in the games at some point, don't they? Because they're going to run out of midweeks and it's one of the only ones that's free. But Arsenal versus Chelsea, there's a very good chance that'll go into game week 28. That just seems to be what with TV and everything else. The only way that won't go into game week 28 is if Leicester get knocked out of the Europa Conference League, and they've got like 4 games to catch up on. So it might be Leicester versus Chelsea. But anyway, that's the Arsenal news. But do not forget they blank in game week 27 and they play in game week 30. So if you are planning to you have one free hit left. Arsenal or no Arsenal is free hit in 27 or free hit in 30. It's that simple. If you're going to free hit in game week 27 and you need to have players playing game week 30, Arsenal are your perfect team because they have a great double this week. If you're going to free hit in game week 30 and you need to have players play in 27, don't buy Arsenal players because you will probably have 3 Liverpool. Simple as that. So, Arsenal, I think the big debate here is, would you go double defence? Would you go Tierney and Ramsdale?
Yeah.
And who would you have? Saka?
Ramsdale, Tierney, and Saka are my 3. If I've got total flexibility, obviously, if you start taking price considerations, then maybe you drop down to an Odegaard or someone like that. But if you pick of the bunch of that team, I would 100% say Ramsdale, Tierney, and Saka. Every time I think I don't want to play Ramsdale, he ends up getting loads of points. Every time I benched him, he's ended up with 8 or 10 points. Arsenal are pretty solid defensively against teams outside the top 6. So, yeah, I'd double up on those, definitely.
Is there an argument to talk about Lacazette?
No.
Most shots in the box.
Because of the desperation around strikers, there's an argument.
Isn't it?
There's not a lot of strike options. He becomes an option. If he shouldn't be, but he is.
Yeah, well, it's most shots in the box. Highest XG out of anyone at Arsenal, as you'd expect, is their number 9. He's got the highest XA out of them. He's got the highest XGI, expected goal involvement, out of any of them. He's got the highest expected points out of anyone at Arsenal over the last 5-6 game weeks. I think it's difficult. I mean, 8.3. It's so expensive for a player that's probably not really worth it. I mean, if you actually have a look at the prices of all of Arsenal's players, like Aubameyang, you can rule out. Then it's Lacazette 8.3, and then Pepe 6.9. Like Lacazette is so out there in terms of his price. But if you were free hitting this week, which is a debate for some people, I suppose, if you were free hitting this week, I think the most it's triple captain versus bench boost as the actual debate in terms of chips. But if you were free hitting this week, I think I might find space for a Wolves defender to go with Trent and Robbo, and then go Ramsdale in goal, Saka in midfield, and then Lacazette up front. I don't see what is he anywhere near your list, Scott?
Well, yeah, only because it's the options are so crap this year, aren't they? And they're not crap; they're just the players aren't performing. So yeah, he would be up there. I'd worry about his actual ability to put the ball in the back of the net. Everything he seems to do up until that point seems quite good. He's quite a frustrating player to watch, I must say. But if you've got the money, or if you're free hitting, like you say there, it is worth a go. Because if you've got that option of a Wolves defence, they look super, super solid. I know they lost to Arsenal. But other than that, they've been brilliant this year. So yeah, again, a little roll of the dice. Why not?
Let's just say, for all people who don't have a wild card left, would you go with Tierney still as your defender of choice, or would you potentially, with obviously his injury history, etc., you're committed to him now for a long period of time, would you potentially look at someone like Ben White? He's only got 2 points less than Tierney in the last three game weeks. He plays every minute. He's actually had the same amount of shots, funnily enough. But would you consider someone like Ben White because of his price?
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
You can definitely consider. I still probably, I like to have, I don't mind having one centre-back, but I'd prefer to have wing-backs, wide players, because you've got potential for crosses, getting in late. I just think Arsenal have had a bit of a rest as well, so I think Tierney will probably be good. I know you're worried about his injury, but you've been saying that for like 7 or 8 game weeks now, and in that period of time, he's ranked me up 88 points. So.
Yeah, no, he has done really well, and he's been good for the pod team as well. If your budget allowed it, I mean, Gabriel has to be said. He's had double the amount of shots, which he gets on the end of corners. I know he's erratic, and he might potentially get sent off at some point, but he actually has delivered more like attacking prowess than Tierney has. So
that's the problem with Arsenal. You gamble because one of them will get sent off every week. That's in the rules, isn't it? So it's like, which one is it going to be this week? It's quite exciting, isn't it?
Does feel that way. But I think if I had to rank them right now, I'm not a massive fan of doubling up on the defences, but also, I think it probably would be Ramsdale, Tierney, and Saka for me as the 3. And then it would be Lacazette in 4th place, and then Ødegaard in 5th, because I know that gets thrown around a little bit. Fun one. Watford.
Just double up in King and Dennis again.
We're all stuck with King and Dennis. Everyone's stuck with these 2 people. They're such trolls, aren't they?
Triple captain chance, I think, as well, isn't it?
Imagine that. Imagine if you triple captained them. In 7 games, their highest point scorer is King with 16 points, which is just over 2 points a game. I mean, that's just. They're just not a team you would touch, would you? But for fun, top 3, go.
I just wrote down Dennis or King.
Okay.
I'd be looking, and it's going to sound ridiculous, I think. I'm going to just stall for 2 seconds here. I'd be looking potentially at, what I'm going to say is quite justified, I think. A defender, maybe a cheap defender, because it's got him really defensive and boring now as Roy Hodgson. And then they've conceded 2 goals against Brighton, but they only conceded 1 against West Ham, and they kept a clean sheet against Burnley as well. And that's pretty much the Roy Hodgson era, isn't it? So I would be looking at maybe like a cheap Watford defender.
So for Mina or Kamara, they're the ones that are the cheap ones. Let me just get into these guys.
Cathcart still there for banter, or
for banter.
I've
gone to Wolves out of absolute desperation there.
If you're free hitting or wild carding, and you want a really cheap goalkeeper backup option, then Foster's your route in there as well, because he looks like he's nailed on.
I mean,
he's nailed on until he's not nailed on, isn't he?
Till he gets injured again. Firmino, and then Kamara was the best in terms of potential attacking returns. Now he's played every game since he's arrived.
Yeah.
4.5.
I would do it. I would do it only just like Tom said, only to free money up.
Cathcart doesn't miss, does he?
As a playing backup on the bench.
Yeah. Well, we've wasted enough time on Watford, haven't we?
Yeah.
We're all. I tell you, the actual question is actually we're all stuck with them, aren't we? As in, like, we've all got one of them.
I've got 3.
No, King or Dennis. But for you, interesting. So you've got Ramsdale, haven't you? Or have you not got him yet?
Yeah,
fine. So Ramsdale's going to play over Foster, isn't he?
Yes.
So are you going to play your your Watford player over a single game weeker?
I think I'm going to be playing King.
Yeah.
Over a single game week player, but I'm not going to be playing Sissoko. I'd rather have Jared Bowen playing 1 game against Newcastle than Sissoko 2 against Villa and Palace.
Got you.
All day.
I think we're playing King, aren't we? Over, but we'll be playing over for Foden. Might be in for Mata. We've got decisions to make on our team. Regulon needs to go. Even though it's double game week. Yeah, I know it's double game week. They're like, are we just going to roll with it because Spurs look that bad? Is he probably going to go with it again? I don't know. Anyway, Tom, you playing Dennis?
I don't really have any choice.
This is how we all feel about it.
I don't have any choice. I really wish I could go back in time and wildcard last week. Anyway, I'll move on from it. But Dennis, unfortunately, is going to have to play for me. But just like Scott's just said, they're set up to defend now. And honestly, it was a miracle that Dennis had done as well as he had up until that point. You're definitely not getting anything from him these days. Maybe a goal. Maybe one.
He started the season pretty much like Pukki did 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And loads of people had Pukki at this point still 2 years ago. And
you get stuck with them because they're not a priority and they're not expensive.
Too cheap. Yeah,
exactly.
Just keep them.
Keep them, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah, there's been no one better.
And anyway, strikers are rubbish, so it doesn't matter anyway.
If we go for Palace, some genuine options. Don't forget Gallagher doesn't play against his parent club, doesn't play against Chelsea, so he doesn't have a double game week. Other than that,
just cross that one out.
he's important. He just doesn't have a double. Edouard, obviously, I think still an option. I mean, I know he got rotated for Mateta in that game, but still an option. Who are your 3 here?
Zaha. Zaha, because he's got the potential to do bits. He scored a really good goal, didn't he, and missed a penalty.
Yeah,
so okay, if he had scored that penalty, you'd be saying he's got 2 goals, and you'd probably be top of your list. He has got the potential to get some returns. So the only issue with Edouard is that he played Mateta the other day, and I wonder with 2 fixtures close by, will one of them get played in each? So you only end up with a single game week, whereas I think Zaha will start both.
Yeah.
My problem with Zaha is not particularly him or his money. It's how strong everyone's midfield is this season. So I'm like, who the hell do I bring Zaha in for? Because even Bowen with 1 game week, his form against the Newcastle. I know Newcastle are looking a lot better, don't get me wrong, but they are conceding goals still. And
Trippier's out.
Yeah, and Bowen against them, like, I don't think I can get him in. Like, I feel like getting striker options like an Edouard is so much easier than getting a midfielder in with how packed midfielders are these days.
Yeah, I agree with that, Scott. To be fair, I think if the 3 players have got Zaha and Edouard, would be the 2.
It comes down to whether you're wildcarding or just making a sub.
Yeah. In terms of defenders, I'll give myself a lot of editing to do here when I come back to it. I think it's probably Anderson for me. I know Kiarte's got more points, but I think Anderson's probably, if I had to go for a defender. I know a lot of people have gone for Gay, actually, and I feel like Anderson is a better defender and got a better goal threat. I don't know what you think anyway. If you were going to go for a Palace defender,
I would have gone for Gray as well.
I'd probably go for Anderson.
It's I think it's quite tight, really. I think they're kind of much of a muchness to some extent, but
yeah. Anderson, for the sole reason, he's massive, isn't he? It's like 6'9" or something.
He's had more shots. He's played more key passes. He's got better expected goal involvement. I know he's got 1 point less than Mitchell, but I mean, as I say, it's 1 point difference to Gay. It's much of a muchness. Wolves. Right, are we Jimenez? If you were free hitting this week, would you put him as one of your strikers? Yeah,
I would personally. He scored last week. He's pretty nailed on to start. I would have him as one of my strikers with the lack of options up there. I would, yeah.
They're playing Leicester, who can't keep. Yeah, I mean, they concede 2 goals a game. They're nearly as bad as Leeds at the moment in terms of goals conceded. So, I can see it. Even if it was just a single game week, you'd probably look at it. I don't see him getting anything away at Arsenal, to be honest. I have to see that being another 0-0 or 1-0 like it was last week they played again. So, I don't see anything in the second, but definitely that first fixture, he could score against Leicester for sure.
Yeah. I agree. He's on my list. And then I'm assuming we've all got 2 defenders to go with him.
I'd put
or keeper
defender. So I hadn't picked out anyone specifically. So I'll be interested to see stats. But I'd put down maybe Semedo. Again, I like the wide players. I don't know why. I don't really like picking centre backs.
I agree with you, Tom. And that's the lesson I learned like a year or so ago on fantasy fullbacks all day. If you didn't have Ramsdale or wanting to go someone different, Sarr, I believe, is the highest scoring keeper this year. Is that right?
Yeah,
with the draft and gets me points every week.
He's up there with I think it's Edison, Sarr, and Allison, and then it's Ramsdale. Ramsdale's on points per 90 is the best performing keeper this season because he missed the first 3 games. Right. But like they're all really close. Them 4 at the top.
So somewhat a bit different again. You could maybe if you like you say if you want to spend your Arsenal free players somewhere else, a Sarr is definitely an option because he's one of those annoying keepers that gets save points every week as well.
He's the annoying kid who gets annoying guy who gets bonus, isn't he? And he that's not what you want if you've not got him.
Wolves are absolutely like banging the goals in. He does get them bonus points.
I think when I was looking at the statistics as well for this, someone like Semedo is right. I'm trying to find what the fixture ticker there. I've got it. Semedo, he's definitely an option. Aitner is now, I think, rotation risk by the looks of it, with Marcal and Johnny being back fit as well. I'm not touching any of these other guys like Pedence. Again, rotation risk even with Traore gone. If you really want someone that's nailed, I mean, Cody and Semedo, they're as nailed as you're going to get. And Max Kilman's even cheaper, and he's not getting rotated out. Saiz tends to have more of a goal threat, but also a bit more of a volatile player. Genuinely, Semedo was the one I think probably just got to the top of my list in terms of a defender. But you can go for any of them again. They look great, the Wolves at the back. So, yeah, any of them again. And the key thing again for Wolves is they play in game week 30 and they also play in game week 27, but they play in game week 30. So as a team, again, to pay attention to with Arsenal, and I'll go through the other ones at the moment. So we've got Arsenal play Villa. We've got, I think it's Wolves play Leeds and then Leicester play Brentford. So those are the only games that are definitely on at the moment. So Wolves are a team that you would look to invest in this week if you were not free hitting in game week 30. They're a double game week team as well. So, that's why it's important to have that chat. And the defenders are probably the best option. Even though, strikers, who knows, honestly. Right, Burnley. Doublers. If you are thinking again about free hitting in game week 30, and I mean Southampton do play against West Ham in the cup, and if they lose, then they will play in game week 30 as well. Anyway, that's Southampton playing West Ham in the cup. But Burnley double, 27. They play against Leicester and they play against Crystal Palace and Leicester. Sorry, Crystal Palace and Leicester. They have Brighton and Spurs this week. Boys, Burnley assets.
It's not bad. 4 fixtures for a Burnley side that have gone back to their roots in being hard to beat. I'd probably go for a defender.
Yeah.
I know. We talked about before we kicked off Rodriguez being the Twitter pick this week first because he scored that 1 goal. But I just warn everyone, he's only got 29 points all year, and Burnley are more likely to keep a clean sheet than they are to score a goal. So I'd be looking more for someone like Tarkowski, Lowton, something like that.
I agree. I think we're going to see. I think we're going to see a few Burnley defenders, and I'm seriously considering it as well. Looking at, they conceded 1 against Liverpool, 1 against Man U, clean sheet against Watford, clean sheet against Arsenal. Last 4 games, like Tom said, they've gone back to what they do best. Really solid. And I watched a couple of those games, and they're not like they're conceding loads of chances either. And Nick Pope's have to be a hero. They're just really super solid. So I would be looking at maybe like a Lowton or someone like that.
So with Lowton on this one for minutes, he hasn't played in the last 4.
Oh, I wouldn't be looking for a Lowton then.
But this is something I think a lot of people haven't been paying attention to. This is why I looked into it before, because generally you go, well, they've got Lowton, Taylor, me, and Tarkowski, haven't they?
Well, we'll edit that bit out so it sounds like me and Scott know what we're on about.
No, but you do, don't you? That you think that's their back four with Pope in goal, but they've actually had Connor Roberts playing, and budget man here at 4.2 is Eric Peters. He's played 90 in all of the last 4. 6 and 6, obviously 1 and 2 points. If you're going for someone like Uber budget, 4.2 million for Peters, it's not too bad. He's playing left back, and Charlie Taylor is injured, and no one knows when he's going to be back yet. There's rumours saying that he's could be back sooner rather than later, but whatever. There's a general consensus again that someone like Tarkowski, who's got the highest expected goal involvement in the last 6 game weeks out of defenders, he's the sort of player that you would probably get in at 4.9. Me at 4.8. Yeah, fine. He gets a lot of blocks in, etc. But yeah, Peters is down here as well. But yeah, Tarkowski and Pope. This is where Nick Pope, right? He becomes this ridiculous beast, fantasy beast, because look what happens when they actually keep clean sheets: a 10 and a 9, and even when they concede, he still gets save points 3 and 3. Like Nick Pope over the last few seasons has been a fantasy beast, basically, and he's been rubbish this season because Burnley have been rubbish. He's too expensive, 5.4 million. It's too expensive. But if you were looking at maybe free hitting in game week 27, he's on my free hit team for game week 27 as my keeper. So just to bear that one in mind. But yeah, longer term, looking at these fixtures for someone like Burnley, Weghorst, people have mentioned. People have got very excited about Weghorst just simply because he's a striker who plays football, and he looked like he tried in the games he's played in. That's literally it for me. I don't get how everyone's so massively overexcited about him. But he did get an assist. But yeah, he's an option as a striker at 6.5, but wait and see if he's fit or not. Cornet's fit, isn't he? I think Cornet's fit. Yeah,
he went off the last game, didn't he? I think that's why.
He's he's 5.9, and overall in terms of goals and shots, he is somebody that does provide an option. So again, if you wanted to get someone in midfield, I agree with you, Scott. You're going to give up a midfield spot to for Maxwell Cornet at the moment. I think again it would be a defender, or potentially if you wanted to gamble on someone like Weghorst, you could do. My Spurs question that I had this week: Kane or Son or none? Spurs? Son. Would we look to you'd go for Son?
I think if you've got Son in a double game week where he's playing Burnley, I know they're tight at the back, but Son does have a history against Burnley, and also it is Son. If it's going to go through anyone in Spurs now he's back, I've absolutely hated having Harry Kane. Don't buy him. Don't get him in. If you're thinking about it, even if you're wildcard and you're free hitting, don't get him. I'm telling you now.
Look at his XGI. Just look at it.
I know. He doesn't get any points.
XGI of 6.4, by the way. 3 attacking returns in his last 6 games.
He's been getting the same chances that Harry Kane. If Harry Kane of last year would have scored probably 20 goals this year. I just don't. Spurs haven't been great, but Harry Kane's still been getting chances. He's not finishing them. And so in a double game week, I'd be looking at Son. He came straight back in and was again involved in the goals. I think did he get one or he got an assist because it came off somebody else or something like that. So he's straight back in on the goals, whereas Kane just, it's so aggravating.
3 attacking returns in his last 4 for Son.
I think if you look at the fixtures as well, Leeds and Everton after that, like you're going to be, I'm bringing Son in this week for Bruno. That's going to be one of mine for the double game week. And those fixtures coming up seem quite nice.
The big thing about Son, and this is
Here we go. Nothing straightforward ever, is there?
No, sorry. The big thing about Son is that there have to be, like, Spurs play West Ham in game week 30, and both of them are still in the cup. Spurs play Middlesbrough and West Ham play Southampton. So both of those teams have to lose for them to have a fixture in game week 30. Now, obviously, if we're sitting here right now with 2 free hits, this is a risk we can take. We can take a Son risk. They do play in game week 27. So what I'm saying is that if you are committed to free hitting in game week 30, that's fine. If you're committed to free hitting in game week 27, Son doesn't play in 30. So if you have 1 free hit left and you're going to free hit in game week 27, don't go there, because you're going to tie up a lot of money in a player that then is probably not going to play in game week 30 that you have. So yes, if you're going to free hit in game week 30 with your 1 free hit that you've got left, Son's a great option. If you're going to free hit in game week 27, don't do it. If you've got 2 free hits, take the risk. I think that's what I'm going to do this week with Son, personally. I think I'm going to bring Son in as well for a double game week. So hopefully that didn't blow everyone's mind. Tom, over to you. Leeds.
God knows.
Defensive assets.
Rafinha. If you've got him, if not, don't bother.
I'm going to ask the question that is really annoying for everyone to listen to and hear, but I've got to ask it. Are you worried about him being taken off at half time in the last game that they played?
I don't know whether Bielsa he said it was tactical and stuff like that. I just don't know whether it was just proving a point, like nobody's too big, I'll take anyone off. It's a bit like maybe what he did with Phillips a long time ago. Mm-hmm. You don't take off your best player when you're 2 goals down at half time. I don't care what his tactical decision was. I love Bielsa, but I don't really think that was tactical. I think that was nobody's too good. I actually thought Rafinha was having a decent game. I know the game before he was awful. But against Everton, he was actually okay. He played a couple of decent passes into Rodrigo. We're at home to Man United. If Rafinha wants to turn up, he could easily get a goal. I don't think we get much joy at Anfield, but we might get something at home.
I think the worry with Rafinha is what we talked about previously. He's nearly got his big move to Bayern Munich or whoever else in the summer. He's not had his move. He's sulking. He seems like a player that would sulk to me, but he also seems like a player that goes, "Oh, Sky cameras are here. Big game against Man United. I am going to turn up." So it won't surprise me for the Rafinha masterclass against Man U. I'm fully expecting it.
And what I will say about him is I don't disagree that he has. I think his body language and like the way he's been with the players and stuff like that has changed a little bit. But he always does give 100%. He didn't play well in the last couple of games. I mean, I thought he was okay against them, but he didn't play like Rafinha normally does in the last couple of games. That could partly be just to do with an international hangover, a bit like you're seeing from Salah against Burnley. I don't think it's necessarily a write-off on him. So, and if anyone's going to do anything, it's going to be Rafinha. Dan James had that, that decent return, but that's not probably going to happen much this season. So I would still be picking, if I'm picking one player out, it'd probably be Rafinha.
He, again, plays in game week 30, and his fixtures before then are Leicester away and Norwich at home in 28 and 29, and he plays also in game week 27. So if you have no free hits left, or you only have 1 free hit left, someone like Rafinha, he is a good pick for your squad to make sure you've got somebody in, because he will play in game week 27 and in game week 30. So Leeds are the sort of team that you could invest in, have a double game week, and will play. Just a shame that they're not doing that great at the moment, and their double game week is against Man United and Liverpool.
What I will say is we only had a 2-day rest between Villa and Everton. And I think that impacted the performance at Everton, which is why it was really quite poor. We've got a full week again for the players to recover between Leeds and Man U. So I think you'll get a better Leeds performance, especially at home. So
Leeds will beat Man U.
Big statement. I love that, Scott.
Here we are. I like that. Just to touch on this before we go on to, I mean, we've already done captaincy, but we'll just do this anyway and talk about deadline. The deadline is at 11 o'clock on Saturday the 19th. Single game week players. So we've all got them in our teams this week. We've got in ours, Cancelo, Foden. I've got Cresswell. We've all got Bowen. These are the sort of players who gets dropped out of any of them. Who do you take out your team?
For me personally, this is where I'm like, I don't think I'm worrying too much because I do have a lot of single game week players, but I have a Watkins. I know he's not on form, he's not scored for a while, but I've got Watkins against Watford at home. I've got a Bowen against Newcastle at home, and you're going to laugh at me, but I've got I don't know, he's not done anything since like game week 1, but I've got Antonio against West Ham at home. And with the lack of striking options, I don't think I'm panicking. I might get Antonio out for another player, but for me, actually, the majority of people's single game week players, I feel like they've got a really good game week. So I'm not going to be taking hits to get a meh double in when I've got a strong single.
Yeah, I think that's some incredibly solid advice. I would be looking at playing Cancelo against Spurs because I think he'll play. I've got Cresswell against Newcastle. That's a tough drop if I'm going to drop him. Bowen against Newcastle's never getting dropped in a million years. Don't drop Bowen, informed player in the league against Newcastle. Just don't do it. And then I think the big one for me this week is Foden, actually, because I know he can be rotated, and I'll be really annoyed if I start him and he comes on for like 3 minutes. So he's the sort of player that I might bench this week, who's a single game weeker. Other single game week players, people have got decisions with. Bruno plays Leeds. You've already got Salah. Coutinho, Broha. These guys are all decent players. And Broha, Broja, whatever you want to call him. To be fair, if I was wildcarding, I'd probably have him as one of my strikers. I think he looks like one of the best strikers at the moment in the league, and that says something. He's 5.2 or 5.3. But lads, any other single game week players that stick out to you? Anybody else that you thinking of?
I think if I had Coutinho, I'd struggle to drop him. How he's looking at the minute, I would struggle at home to Watford. I'd really struggle to drop him. I'd rather have a Coutinho at home to Watford and a Bruno Fernandes away at Leeds. If I had the option, I would take that.
Tom?
No one that hasn't already been mentioned in terms of singles. I've actually taken Foden out this week to get another double. One of the teams with good fixtures. So, and it freed up funds for me. I'll probably, similar to what Scott just said, I'm so sick of Antonio. I know they're playing Newcastle at home, and it seems like stupidity to take him out, but I'm just done with it.
It doesn't. We've had this debate.
ICT scores, and they're awful as well. So
that says something for you. But it's not a silly move. He's not delivering, and everyone's got this thing about they've kept people keeping. It's because there's no better alternatives. Like Kane's not delivering, Ronaldo's not been delivering, Antonio's not been delivering. But who are going to move him to? This is the thing. Like,
and that's when you've got people not returning, have cheap ones. If you've got strikers not doing well, have cheap strikers. If it's a toss up between Edouard at 6.5 or Antonio at 7.5, you get an extra $1 million back to spend on your defence or your midfield. That's why I'm going to take him out this week. His fixture's good. He could get a goal. He could get returns. There's no reason he couldn't, but I'm looking to probably -8, and the only way that I can get to the players that I want is by probably taking Antonio out. So it'll be probably him that gets the chop for me.
Oh, Tom's looking at -8 this week. You heard it here first.
Let's see if he takes a -8. Wildcarded last week, so
maybe.
Tom's actually built a time machine this week, so he can go back and wildcard.
Honestly, if I have a bad week this week, because this is going to be the biggest one in a while, if I have a bad week this week, the team could be getting deleted.
This is one of those weeks where you do not want to have a bad week. To be fair, last week is what it is. It happens. You do not want to have a bad week this week. There'll be some big scores out there this week, and there'll be some people who just fall damn unlucky. So don't rest your really top quality single game week players over some mere doublers. Completely agree, Scott. And then the big debate is bench boost versus triple captain, really, for some people. The big thing I would want to point out is that when are you going to use your triple captain at a better time than this? I don't think there is going to be a better time. Whereas your bench boost, at the moment, people will be bench boosting single game week players, the majority. So even though they're good fixtures, you can bench boosting in game week 33, 36, when there's also a lot of double game week players and you can wildcard before them if you have the opportunity or you've got a lot of time ahead to plan. I think I don't think it's too much of a debate in my head. It's triple captain this week for Salah, and then I'm going to bench boost in 36, looking at that's when most of the fixtures are going to be rescheduled. But if you do bench boost this week, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with it at all. And use your triple captain further down the line. It's just, I think the thing is for me is I don't know when else I'd use it and what other player I'd use it on. Like
you've got the best player in the world against two leaky teams, double game week fixture, doesn't get rotated, doesn't get rested, and is still annoyed against AFCON. You're an idiot if you don't triple game week him.
The only thing I will say is when these things happen, he's going to blank. I mean, everyone will triple. There's going to be so many triple captains. I'd be shocked.
He can't blank more than Dominic
million,
Calvert-Lewin did last year.
You just know it's going to be the case, though, Scott. It almost because it's so obvious. It's so, and I agree. Like, how can you not triple captain him? But it just means he's going to blank. I think Liverpool concede in both games, so he loses his clean sheets. He gets a booking in one of them. So triple captain for 9 points. That's my prediction.
It'll be either Brighton away or an Arsenal away, or it might be Watford at home and Arsenal away, which might not be too bad in game week 31. But again, they're probably playing in midweek. It might be Arsenal away and Aston Villa away, Spurs at home, Arsenal away. There's just not better. There's not better times.
The other thing we didn't say, we're at home both games.
Yeah, home both games. It's just it is a no-brainer for me, but we've got to sound it out. One question to get thrown in: who would you rather have in your team, Antonio or Foden right now?
Foden.
Cool, that was easy, wasn't it? But yeah, it's Foden, isn't it? Even with his rotation risks. Let me just double check. I have no other questions that have been thrown at me. I do not. Cool. Game week 27. If you are committing to a free hit, I just wanted to touch base on that one because I had a look at the fixtures. It is a shorter game week, so I wanted to just quickly have a look at those fixtures. The deadline is on Friday at 6:30. If you are committed to this, you can afford a team, and this is the team I put together, so you like this. Popu's got a double game week against Crystal Palace and against Leicester. Foster is a backup keeper. Anderson at the back for Crystal Palace, who played Burnley. Cancelo, I put him playing Everton because I think they could definitely return and maybe keep a clean sheet. Peters, Manquillo, and Williams, so 3 cheap defenders. 4.2, 3.9, 3.9. Then I had Bruno, Son, Bowen, Jacob Ramsey, and then I had Kane, Ronaldo, and Brozier. And with one other midfielder at 2.6 plus whatever your team value is. So for me, I've got 5.2's worth of team value. So another midfielder at like 7.8. So I could get like a City midfielder or something like that at that sort of level. And that team would be able to deliver. And I think that there's some really strong players in that team. And actually, when I look at my squad, only 3 of those players are actually in my team currently, if I include Son and bring them in. So it's a radical change for me, game week 27, and I hope that it's going to help me capitalize massively. But it's just an exercise I think you could do if you're still debating the free hit in 27 versus the free hit in 30. Look at how many players you've got that play in game week 27. Look how many players you've got currently in your squad that play in game week 30, and add up how many transfers you're going to need to get there to the squad that you need in game week 30 to see what's viable and what isn't. And yeah, we'll also look at how many players that you have different compared to who you'd like to play in game week 27. That's what I did, and I only had 3 out of 15. So excited for my free hit, actually. Game week 27.
Same.
Yeah, I think there's quite a lot of different options, lads. I don't know. I mean, I haven't asked you to do this already, so I don't know if you have any thoughts on what I've just said there. I'm throwing you under the bus here a little bit to think on the spot. But game week 27. Any players that really stand out for you that you don't have currently? Obviously, Man United at home to Watford, City play Everton. Anything can happen there. Burnley have a double game week. Spurs play Leeds. But anything that sticks out, that players that you'd love to have in a team that you don't know?
City. I'm only going to be down to Cancelo for this week. So when I free hit, there'll be 3 City players in there. There'll be probably 2 West Ham players, probably Creswell and Bowen.
Yeah.
Probably have at least Maddison, maybe another one from Leicester. That'd probably be about it. I'm Southampton, Ward-Prowse. I think he's been doing really well, so maybe someone like Ward-Prowse at Southampton.
I'm doing this to cover off. I'll give you another couple of seconds to think, Scott. But I'm doing this to cover off the fact that just in case, because the last game fixture on game week 26 is on the Thursday, and then the deadline for this is on the Friday. So just in case we don't get a chance to do another pod, I thought it was just a good opportunity, probably before this deadline, to have a look at it as well as captaincy, because I actually think captaincy is really quite difficult this week, like in game week 27. But Scott, anyone that you think other than potentially I've mentioned or anything else like that?
I don't think so. No, I'd maybe keep an eye on. I'd watch Leicester the weekend. Everything went through Harvey Barnes. It really impressed me actually. And is that player that you get in, he does nothing, and then you get him out and he does something. But everything went through him, and I only noticed because I had a bet on Maddison to score. He didn't get forward very quickly, very often, which surprised me. So that would be my worry. But that's just on an eye test. On that one. And yeah, I agree the captaincy choice would be tough. I'd do well in my own head to go away from a Man United player at home to a poor Watford team. So for me right now, I would probably I'd probably bring Bruno and Ronaldo in. Probably Bruno is the person I'd captain, but I hate it.
That other player in that gap that is sort of 2.6 plus whatever your team value is, and to find out your team value, by the way, you go onto your game week history and you can see there what it says what your team value is, just to make sense of it. So mine, for example, if I add in what's in the bank for me is 105.2 million, which is why I've got 5.2 million with a team value. I just worked it out in terms of actual prices. You'll have equity in players. You know, I've got 1 million in Cancelo for an example. So, you know, it's just an example team. But Zaha and Barnes both fit into that gap that I had in midfield. I'd look at Bruno personally now. Ragnit's playing a 4-2-3-1 because I think Bruno in the number 10 role is the guy I'd probably captain.
But now I'm looking at it, I probably want KDB in there and against Everton, depending on how they do. That's a really tough week. I think it's going to be a very swingy week, that one, isn't it, without Salah?
Again, this is why for this week, game week 26, you have to commit to what you're doing in 27. And that's what I really want to hit home and stress to people who, because we speak to a lot of casual players, you know, on this a lot, you know, like 8 of them. We speak to like 8 casual people. And these guys that are listening to this, like, you know, who play it week by week, you have to commit to what you're doing. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself in a hole. So, anyway, sorry, Tom. And I know you were about to say something then. Or you, Scott?
Sorry, I agree. I think you just need to know what you're doing before. I switched mine, but I always had a clear backup plan. It was always going to be free hitting 27. So, like you say, you just need to know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
In these periods where there's big swings, to go from a big double game week to a single or a blank, if we call it that, is quite a big swing, isn't it? So.
Yeah, especially when everyone's going to have your free Liverpool players, and they're your big assets in there, aren't they?
Yeah.
The 2 teams that have the best double game weeks this week are Liverpool and Arsenal. The 2 teams that don't play next week, along with Chelsea, are Liverpool and Arsenal. So if you really want to maximise 26 and then maximise 27, yeah, I think, and also because you'll have 3 Arsenal players in your team that will play in game week 30. If I had 1 free hit left, I would free hit in 27 because I think it's a more aggressive play rather than 30's the more passive. God, I hope that I can get 11 players out play. And
the only other thing I'd throw out there is you can still free hit in a double game week later in the season, you know, just to give yourself that give yourself a really strong 11 in that week. I know you'd normally look to use a bench boost or a triple captain, but we use a triple captain or bench boost this week. There's probably going to be at least 2 more doubles, I would guess, even if one of them's smaller.
Yeah, 33 and 36. 33 and 36 should be.
So saving a free hit for a double game week's not the worst either. You know, you can get a lot of value out of that as well by getting 11 doubles in on a week that works for you.
My ideal world is not to free hit in game week 13 to free hit in game week 33. That's my ideal world. If I could put it all together and the right fixtures come and don't have to free hit in game week 30 and I can put 11 players out and I've got a team I'm happy with, that's my ideal. But at the same time, I'm in the blessed position to be able to know I've got a wild card. So if I have to free it in game week 30, I'll probably use my wild card in game week 33 so that then I can maximize that week and also plan for game week 36, because we'll probably know then at that point who's in the semi-finals of cups, who needs to have fixtures rescheduled whenever, what's going to clash with TV because things will be booked in for the later months of the season, etc., etc. So that's the ideal, but we will see. That's it for this week, boys. Thanks ever so much. I know it was a little bit repetitive because we're going through our best 3 from all the double game week players, but I think it's important to have that conversation, see who we wanted to bring in. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with your friends who also play fantasy football. Send in all your questions. Thanks ever so much for everyone who sent those questions in this week and contributed. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and also Twitter at All In Football Pod and All In Football P. Good looking game week 26. Come on, Salah, deliver for us. And also, if we don't speak to you before then, just it's a tight deadline, good looking game week 27. We might speak to you before, I might put a bit of content out before that. But if not, then it'll be before game week 28, and we will know who's going to play in game week 30 at that point. So, thanks ever so much, and bye for now.